What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey kids, good morning. It's Saturday morning, and as we all know, I never do weekend shows. This must be a special exception, and I'm very excited to be hosting the individual coming on my show today. The gentleman's name is Jonathan Lagasse, and I hope I said that right. He is one of the founders of the actual organization itself called Paw Parks New York City. What I'm excited most about is not only talking about what it has to offer, and one of the main components which I'm so excited about is the fact that it partners up 2 important components, which is, of course, philanthropy, I can talk this morning, and pets as well. So it's absolute worthy organization. I apologize greatly to both Dana Humphrey as well as to Jonathan, because I know we've had some complications, technical issues, timing, etc. And thank God we were both able to coordinate our schedules to make some time for this special show today. So I appreciate that. So without further ado, let's get Jonathan on the line and start speaking to him. Jonathan?
Hi, Cindy. How are you?
Oh, my God, you're here. I never thought this would happen. I was like, oh, my God, this is not how this life goes. And I'm like, oh, my goodness gracious, I do interviews all the time. And I'm like, this poor man is probably thinking, what a whack job. I can't get on her show to save my life. But I'm here on a lovely Saturday.
Thanks for having me.
Well, no, thanks for coming on. You know, I've said this 100 times before that anytime that Dana has a client that she brings to me, it's almost an automatic yes every time. She has the elite of the group, so to speak, as I call it. I mean, her clients, hands down, are amazing people, and I'm certain that you're the same. I hear very good things about you. I hear you're a very smart person, and I hear you have a very good sense of humor.
I try. But don't put me on the spot to say something funny, otherwise it's not going to work.
Well, and it's early, so it's like, well, it's 10:30 there, it's 9:30 here, so it's kind of like you don't want to push this guy too far because it's a little bit early. So we're going to talk about a couple of different things, obviously, of course, I can talk now. I sound like a New Yorker. Paw Parks is obviously your gig, your thing, and obviously we're going to talk about that. But what I always like to do is I like to structure my interviews to do an introspective program, which means, of course, we're going to cover all of you, not just Paw Parks, because obviously Jonathan was a person before this was established to begin with. So first of all, what I wanted to find out from you is if you could talk to your audience a little bit about your background before you started this, meaning if you're going to run an organization like this, you're going to need, I'm guessing, components such as a marketing background or sales or some sort of knowledge relative to what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about your education and tell us a little bit about what you wanted to be when you grow up.
Sure. Well, I am we'll call it a native New Yorker, even though I grew up out in Long Island. New York and Long Island are very dear to my heart, and I try to do as much as I can for both the city and Long Island.
Sure.
I went to school down in Washington, D.C. I studied English, and then my first job out of college was working at the ASPCA in New York City up on the Upper East Side.
Okay.
And while I was there, I launched their first email solicitation program, so basically a way to reach out to their member base through email to help get donations for the great work that the ASPCA was doing. So right away, I was able to combine my passion for animals with a sense of marketing and technology, if you will. I furthered that. I left the ASPCA after a few years and went into an email marketing position at a company that was called Cheetah Mail. They did not help cheetahs, but they were called Cheetah Mail.
Okay.
And from there, I stayed there for a number of years. They were acquired by a larger organization. I went through the ranks doing email marketing for big retailers. And then recently I moved over to LinkedIn, and right now I'm working at LinkedIn.
Oh, nice. Very, very nice. Now, that poses a question to ask, actually, because I'm curious about this, because now we live in the day and age, of course, where social media is such a big hype, and obviously everybody is all over the place everywhere. In some ways, has that become life in marketing a lot easier? Do you find that you're able to get your product and your point across much faster nowadays, now that we have so many social media platforms?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have the forum to get that product out there or to have that conversation, but you also have so much data that's generated from those platforms, so that it really takes skill and back-end technology to be able to hone that data, to dig into that data and understand it, so that you can very nimbly and quickly respond to what your audience or what your customer wants. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's great to put it out there and have that opportunity, but then it's the information you're getting back. Your customer expects you to use that quickly to adjust and to make your product or make your service a little bit better for them.
I understand completely. Now, obviously, on the flip side of the fence, it goes without saying that an individual who starts up something such as Paw Parks is obviously going to have pets himself. So I know about your current history in terms of who you have for dogs, et cetera, in your own house, but tell us a little bit about first time you got yourself your first pet, and not only that, what did you learn between that time and now about pets that you didn't know before?
Oh, I learned so much. So I grew up with dogs in my house, but my first pet was a boxer. We rescued her from a boxer organization out here in Long Island, and when we got her, we didn't know very much about her. So she'd been abandoned under the BQE or found under the BQE. She went directly into foster, and she challenged us because she wanted to be alpha. She wanted to be a little bit more dominant. She was dog selective. So we had some challenges with her. So we learned very quickly to make sure that we were pulling in the right people to modify her behavior, to make sure that we learned as much about the breed and as much about what she needs, and trained her so that she would be, a better and healthier dog. And she was really the pushing factor for Paw Park, because she didn't like every dog. When we lived with her in the city, it was a challenge to bring her to the dog park. Either we want the dog park empty, so she could be off leash and running and chasing a ball because she loved retrieving a ball, or there had to be dogs that we knew she got along with from the neighborhood at the park, and that made the experience from a socialization perspective much better for her. So she really, made that light bulb go off for me, and I said, well, there's got to be a way that we can understand what dogs are already at the dog park. So that we can bring Mel, her name is Mel there, to make sure that, that she's having a great experience and that we're not stressed about being at the dog park and there may be a dog that she's not going to get along with, etc. So she really helped and was a driving, factor behind why we came up with this concept and this idea. Okay, gotcha. Now, interesting fact, folks. Apparently you adopted Mel on the day that you got engaged to your wife. Is that not correct? That is correct. It was also
my
birthday.
How cool is that?
So.
Oh, my God. How cool. Okay, now you got to talk about it.
She was part of the plan. So my wife and I had been dating for actually not that long. I want to say it was only about 9 months. And I knew that she was the one. And I organized this elaborate plan. We had been talking about rescuing a dog for some time. And it just so happened that the stars aligned. We were able to get her on my birthday. We rescued Mel we picked up Mel from the foster, and then we took her down to the beach. This was in January, mind you, so it is cold, but we wanted to take Mel down to the beach for one of her first walks of sort of, with us, and let her smell the ocean, feel the sand, really just, be happy. And she loved the beach, and she always has. And while we were walking along the beach, I proposed to my wife, and thankfully she said yes.
Aww. That's so sweet. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all about the romance. Well, guess what? It gets better. Welcome to my show. This isn't like CNN and NBC. I get to do what I want. I'm on internet radio, so we are all about love on this show because I just got dumped. So I like hearing the whole there's at least 2 couples out there happy. So tell us about your wife, and then tell us a little bit about her commitment, because obviously you co-founded this with your wife. Tell us a little bit about her, and then tell us a little bit about her relationship with pets and how, of course, she became integral in this entire project.
Yeah. Debbie is an amazing woman. She really is the driving force behind me. She kicks my butt when it needs kicking, and she makes sure to, help me out when I need that help. So we really conceived of this idea together. I sort of noodled on it, ran things by her. She gave great input, great ideas. And then when we decided to start launching it, we sort of divided and conquered. I took some more of the technical aspects of the roles and responsibilities. Sure. So talking with some of the developers, organizing the developers, making sure that the product's running. Debbie did a lot of the Q&A, the project management work, and also took on some of the marketing, the social marketing components. So we split that as well. So she's just been so integral in our ability to really get this up and running. And every day she's bringing new ideas to me, new thoughts to me, and I'm doing the same. So we really are a great collaborative team when it comes to Paw Parks. And really just in our daily lives.
And let's not forget they're also wonderful collaborators with something else, because you have a little boo-boo, don't you? You have a cute little one. I know. So talk about little one.
We've got a full house. When we were living we now live on Long Island. We moved out of the city about a year and a half ago. But when we were living in the city, we had a 1-year-old and and 2 boxers living with us in a 1-bedroom apartment. So, life was very interesting. Sure.
I imagine.
So we have a boy who's almost 3 now. His name is James, and we actually have one on the way that's due right around Christmas. So
my
we're growing
God.
the family.
Oh, my God. Look at that. See, I didn't know about the new baby. See, this is all great news to me, obviously. I don't know how they have time to be, having babies and doing families because you have so much going on here. I'm curious to ask because, of course, obviously at one time your little one was a baby. And so I'm always curious. Sometimes in different families there's different feedback about how the pets will interact. Like some pets will be extremely protective of the baby, and then sometimes the pets will kind of shy away. So I was just curious about your experience with your family. What were your dogs like with your baby?
Yeah, they were great. So I'm going to take a little step back and just talk about the second dog we added to our family.
Oh, yes.
Because we had Mel first. She was, and like I mentioned, she was dog selective, we'll call it, because she does get along with some dogs and not others. But we reached out to another boxer rescue group in the city, and we basically did an introduction with a 10-month-old male boxer, and the two of them just immediately loved each other and were so easygoing. So we decided we were going to foster him after 2 weeks of having him in our house. My wife was like, we're keeping him. And I was like, yeah, that was my plan all along. So that worked great. We introduced him into the family, and it mellowed Mel out so much. He was so good for the family and the way that the two of them would interact, play, tire each other out. And because he was so easygoing, he really did chill her out. So that was great. And then we did have concerns when we were pregnant and we knew we were having a baby and we had 2 dogs. There's definitely concerns about that. But we read up on it, we studied up on it, we figured out, how we would introduce. We brought home the baby scent from the hospital before bringing the baby home. And immediately when we brought James home, the two of them were just like, awesome, so cool. What is this? We want to smell, we want to sniff. And that was kind of it. And then Mel very quickly just became his buddy. The two of them would sleep on the couch together and just hang out. And, he would, as he got bigger and would pull on the dogs, the two of them just took it in stride, no problems whatsoever. So we were really fortunate that there was never an instance of anything. There wasn't a problem with toys. There wasn't a problem with food. There wasn't, so we've been very fortunate with that.
Oh, I imagine so, definitely. Well, and as I said, it can be challenging to do, as you're doing right now, which is you have a job, and then, of course, you have the Paw Parks, and then you have your family. It's a lot to juggle in terms of putting all of that stuff together and such. That's why I'm like, oh, my God, another baby. Well, kudos to you guys. I mean, I'm very impressed. And then on top of which, get this, folks, he actually trained and participated in the New York City Marathon, did you not? So you're an athletic student, too.
Yeah, my athletic prowess has fallen some with the baby now and everything else. But yeah, I ran the New York City Marathon. That's how my wife and I met when we were it was while we were both training for that. So we ran that back in it's been a few years now. And then we ran the Napa Marathon together as well. And then since then, about 3 years ago, I did a couple triathlons. So we try to stay healthy. She's a lot more healthy than I am now, believe it or not. Even though she's 5 months pregnant, she still looks better than me. Yeah, we try to include the dogs in all those things as well. So whether we're traveling for a race, we'll try to bring the dogs, or if we're just training, the dogs will run a few miles with us. So we try to make sure that they stay healthy and active with us.
I was just going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth, because I'm guessing, of course, if you're training for a marathon, that's like excellent time to be able to take your dogs out with you, be able to keep you both in shape and all that good stuff. So now we're curious, because since we've been on this personal side of Jonathan, so let's talk a little bit about in the 5 minutes of free time you have a week, which I'm guessing is all that you have. So what are you doing? I mean, what's happening with you? What's going on? Because, New York City to me is like a second home. So every time I have a New York City guest, I'm like, hey, just tell me what you do. So next time I come and visit, which is soon, I'll be able to check out something new and different. So it's kind of like, do you get your time for your date nights? Do you get your time to be able to do things? What do you like to do?
Yeah, we do. We get date nights quite a bit. Debbie and I like to go out. We like to go out for dinner. We'll go out in the city to new tapas places, or just new restaurants that are opening up, and we like to have a few glasses of wine, and we try to pay attention to wine and like to think we know a little bit about it, but I mean that's mostly our free time. It's eating and drinking. So we enjoy that time together.
And that's so self-admitted. Eating, drinking. Oh, and by the way, he can also fire a gun. Did you people know that? Because I've seen him at the range. I've seen photos of this. Not physically in person, but I've seen him shooting a gun. And I'm like, okay, don't mess with the guest today because he knows how to shoot a gun. Creeper.
Yeah, there was a work trip down to Texas, and my coworkers and I, we had to go to the shooting range, and it was fun. It was a fun little trip.
Very, very nice. I like that. In fact, I just very recently actually have been talking to some folks, and you're a good person to ask this question to. Actually, I had a scare just last night, as a matter of fact, with someone, and so I said to myself, well, I should probably get more serious about getting a license as far as shooting. So give me one of the tricks of the trade. What do you find to be the most complex, or what's the one thing I need to remember about learning how to shoot a gun? Because I'm a little apprehensive about this.
Oh, boy.
Right?
I'm not all that well versed. I did grow up in a house where there were firearms, but I never knew where they were because my dad was a police officer out in Long Island. So when I grew up out in Long Island, there were weapons in my house. And I think the most important thing that he instilled in us about firearms was just you have to be careful with them. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Got to be in a lockbox if you have children. And we had 4 boys who were very curious and certainly could get into trouble if they needed to, but we knew that was off limits. That was set very early on, and frankly, we didn't even know where the lockbox was. So that's my childhood memory of firearms, and then getting older and having an opportunity to shoot every now and again. I find it exciting and fun, but I personally do not have firearms in my house, but
okay.
I'm opposed to having them. It's just I like to get out and shoot at a range every now and again, and when I do, the range typically will provide those weapons for us.
Oh, very, very nice. Very nice. Wasn't that lovely? I got to embarrass you, and I got to learn about you. How cool was that? I think that's absolutely awesome. So now we want to talk a little bit about, I realized that back in June, actually, at Honda Manhattan, you were part of the celebration of summer solstice, so I know that you were on hand for that. So let's talk a little bit about how that went. How was that event for you? And basically, in general, when you're out and about doing events, how receptive are individual people that have never heard of you? How welcoming are they to the idea of your concept?
The party was great. We threw a launch party at Honda Manhattan. Dana helped organize it for us and did a phenomenal job. We had a really nice showing. The people who came were all extremely receptive to the idea, really appreciated the idea. And since that launch party, we've gone to a number of different events as well. And the buzz, the app has only really been launched for 2 months. The buzz around it is great. When I talk to people about it and tell people how simple it is, they're like, wow, that's really cool. So we've gotten really good response from it all, and it's really been a blessing.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, she had mentioned that to me. And shout out to Dana Humphrey, because I do that every time I do a show. She's amazing. She's incredible. White Gate PR, I'm shameless about promoting constantly. She's absolutely amazing. Oh, my God. Tell us how you met Dana. How'd you get coordinated with her, or I should say partnered up?
A friend of mine who owns a dog walking business in New York City, recommended her because he had used her, and from day one, she was phenomenal. I mean, the amount of traction she's able to get, her ability to pull parties together, her knowledge of how to, really leverage social media. I mean, she runs the full gamut of services and does a tremendous job. So we've been really impressed with how Dana's really been able to help us grow.
And she is just an absolute sweetheart. Such a dedication and a passion to her clients. It's just absolutely amazing. Her and Bridget are phenomenal. And, so this isn't always the way it goes. Yeah, she hooks you up with some girl that's like, oh, my God, having a traumatic life and can't get you on the show. But isn't it fun now? Aren't you glad you waited? See, this is kind of worth it, right?
It's absolutely worth it.
Well, the thing is, too, my feeling has always been, I'm like, you know what, I realize that we're supposed to have a very structured and very serious show, and it's like, you know what, I can still get my point across and do my job and be funny and stuff. Because let's face it, I mean, if I have to work on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning without alcohol in my coffee, I may as well make my own laugh. So here we are. I'm kidding, folks. You all know I don't drink in the morning, once in a great while. So let's talk a little bit about next thing, which is I know that you've also done television appearances. For instance, I know you've been on News 12, and of course you've been featured in Dogs Unleashed magazine. Now, tell me something, because obviously I'm going to guess that Paw Perks is new and innovative. Is there anything similar out there in the world besides this? So this is an original concept of yours, I assume.
This is an original concept from what I can tell. And
okay.
Right now, from a company perspective, we're really focused on New York City and Long Island. We feel that if we make it happen here, as the song goes, we can pretty much make it happen everywhere. So we want to make sure to do it right in our own backyard.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt and such. And then when you make the appearances, obviously, are you bringing the dogs and actually showing individuals about the socialization factor and such, or is this just you're just kind of throwing the product out there for people to know and get and be receptive to?
So we do both. So I have a great guy that I brought on to the Paw Parks team. His name is Hardy Duhaney. He runs a dog walking business and training business out here on Long Island. And I've since brought him onto the Paw Parks team. And to be honest, he's usually the one that I put in front of the camera. He's a real handsome-looking dude, and he knows his stuff when it comes to dog training. I mean, he's got a great dog who is a therapy dog, and the two of them are usually in front of the camera demonstrating, whether it be, and talking about whether it be greeting techniques or just training techniques. So, Hardy's usually our camera, our up front and personal in front of the camera.
That's right. I was going to ask about him because I was creeping on your page on Facebook because that's what journalists do. They creep all over your life. And I'm like, Hardy alert. Oh, I didn't just say that on radio. But no, he is an attractive fellow, actually. He probably garnishes a lot of attention and such. And I saw that. It's very impressive, actually. And what's nice about the media is that you can go, especially in New York City, it's such a great way to get your word out there, station to station or magazine to magazine and such. It's a wonderful way to get the word out, basically. One of the things that I think that you pinpoint on the head and that you have spoken about before, which is I started bringing up socialization of dogs. The more socialization a dog gets, the less likely they are to have behavioral issues. And so here's what I would like you to address to your audience. Oftentimes, most of us who are in the busy world, so to speak, I call myself one of those, and I have a cat, I don't have a dog. And the reason I don't have a dog is because it's not fair to them. I guess my feeling is I'm never here enough to where I can warrant the proper attention to them. So talk a little bit about those of us who have a busy life that do have a dog. How do we fit in proper socialization for the dog and maintaining that and having our own life? Do you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of us get so busy that whether we want to or not, we might be neglecting the socialization needs of our pets. Make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. And it's part of the reasons why I always have two dogs now in my household. I feel it's so important for them to bond and to have some socialization together. But outside of that, for people that can't have two dogs or simply, choose not to, it's about carving out time in the day and every day
Right.
Good friends of mine that I know that have dogs in the city that lead just as hectic or fast-paced lives as myself, or even faster paced, they'll get up early in the morning and take the dog to the park. And I think it's one of New York City's, I don't want to say best kept secrets, but it's certainly one of the great secrets of New York City, in the sense that if you get up early in the morning, there's typically a good handful of people at the dog park near you, because they want to make sure that they're giving their dog the proper exercise, socialization, and just giving them some stimulus before the day, before they sit home for a few hours, waiting for their pet parent to come home, and then greet them again and take them for a walk, etc. So there's those aspects of it. And I personally also, choose dog walkers that will walk my dog in a pack. I want them to go out on pack walks. I want them to get that socialization and experience. And then you've also, of course, in the city, you have great, and out in Long Island, you have great services that have the doggy daycare aspect to them, and that you can, that they'll pick your dog up and bring them to play and romp around with other dogs. So incorporating that into their weekly life, I think, is great. I don't necessarily know that you can afford or do it every day for most people, but it's certainly a great treat for the dog to do, once a week or once every couple of weeks. So those are the ways that we want to make sure to incorporate socialization into our dog's lives.
Oh, and of course, and obviously the main question that I wanted to ask about, which I think you've touched on before, which is this. Not only is the socialization important in terms of behavioral issues, but just does it make them more likely to behave better around other pets? Meaning, because sometimes I've noticed that you can put, two pets together, and it's not always playtime and everybody's all happy. And so I guess if you could, for us, maybe highlight a couple of the different elements that you think are vital every day that we should be offering to our pets that will make them not only better behaved, but also just calmer, from a sense of, I've met some dogs that are just, they're all over the place. Tell us how we can make it better for both of us. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So we have an easy tagline on a lot of our products that we have out there. So the T-shirts that we wear, or the dog tank tops that we've created, and it's just simple. It says more park, less park. And for me, that's the key. It's about exercise, and it's about stimulus, and it's about putting your dog in situations, and letting them experience those situations so that they know how to act, and frankly, so that you know how to act in those situations, so that you can cue off of your dog and understand what their behavior is and what they're telling you. If they're telling you this is a bad situation for them, well, then you need to correct it. And you need to either make them feel more comfortable in that situation, or you need to take them out of that situation. So for me, it's about those things. It's about exercising your dog, keeping them mentally stimulated, and putting them in a whole host of experiences.
Gotcha. And of course, one perfect way to do that would be Paw Parks, New York City. So now we come to the moment where we get to talk about the actual entity itself. Woo woo! We're finally here. Okay, so just to let everybody know that's listening that may not know this, actually, basically, the best definition I could give of Paw Parks is this, which it's a dog community that has two different purposes, which I think is awesome. It combines our pets along with a means to be able to do philanthropic activity, which I find so exciting. So, first of all, whose brainchild idea was that? Because it's fabulous, by the way. I think that's amazing. Anything combined with charity to me is absolutely amazing. So talk a little bit about what made you partner those both up?
Yeah, to be honest, selfishly, we just saw a need in the neighborhood dog park community when we had Mel, and we wanted to better understand and make the experience better for us. And as we started building out the idea, it just dawned on me, like, we can give back with this. This could be really cool. So it was a little bit of a lightning strike, and we went with it. We ran with it. It adds a little bit more complexity from our end in finding sponsors and getting people to make those donations, but we think it's well worth it. I mean, if you think about it, if you rescue a dog and then every time you bring that rescue dog to a dog park, they're helping feed another shelter or rescue dog, it's like win-win for everybody. That's fantastic.
Oh, without a doubt. Definitely. Now, let's get a little more specific so that people understand. When we talk about philanthropy, explain a little bit how it works, meaning that how does it work? How does the process work in general?
So, like you mentioned, the app is set up in two ways. One is it's meant to provide a pet parent, a dog parent, with more information about their neighborhood park. What amenities are there? What dogs are checked in there? But the philanthropy side of it is you create a doggy profile, which we like to call a paw file, and you just put in some very basic information about your dog. And then and then you have the ability within your dashboard page, which is basically your home screen page for the app, to set a home park so that you can very quickly, every time you just open that app, the park that you typically go to is already set there. You click on that park, and then you just check your dog in. And every time you check your dog in, we're through our sponsor network, we're making donations of product or kibble to a local New York City or Long Island shelter or rescue group. So right now we have a phenomenal sponsor. They're called BOGO Bowl, and they're going to be sponsoring us for the next 6 months. And they're a pet food manufacturer out of Des Moines, Iowa, and they're awesome. So they're donating a half a cup of kibble for every single check-in that happens through the application or website.
Nice. Very, very nice. Now, can individuals actually do this off their phone app? Because now we live, of course, in the technology central world, so you can just sign on right through your phone. Is that not correct?
That's correct. It takes all of a minute and a half to create your little profile and set your home park. And then, like I said, you can search the other parks that are around you. By default, in New York City, you're going to have a 1 mile radius for the parks because we figure people really aren't going to be walking all that far to their local neighborhood dog parks. And then out here in Long Island, we've defaulted to 10 miles. So people are more apt to be driving their dogs to the park, so we want to be able to give them a wider radius. But it's that quick and simple.
Wow. That is very, very simple. What shocked me is that you said that people actually drive to take their dogs. I'm like, you've been to New York City, right? I'm like, I don't think I've seen anyone drive. I'm going to walk, I'm going to cab, I'm going to Uber, whatever the heck that is. I'm like, no one walks in New York, darling. I'm like, I just don't think they do. I mean, or, drives, I should say. They just don't. I mean, how many people do you see in a car, right? And if you are, it's like a visitor because it's like nobody who lives there would actually even try to get in a vehicle, but I understand your point. I'm like, I just have to mention that.
For Long Island, it makes sense. For the city, it doesn't, and that's why the radius of the park is only a mile in New York City because I'm not taking my dog to I'm not putting the dog in the car and going through all that hassle getting the car out of the garage or giving up my spot in New York City if I have a car. No way. I agree with you. The driving aspect is really for Long Island.
You betcha. Now, this is so funny, guys, because this sounds so cute because I'm researching this guy, and I'm like, oh, my God, you can set up a paw date. And I'm like, wow, dogs are getting dates that I'm not. Well, part of that sounds wrong. Okay, talk to me about a paw date because we all want to know what that is.
Yeah, sure.
What's a paw date?
There's two special features we added to the application. One is a paw date, and that allows you to basically reach out to friends. You have to friend somebody first, just like you would on, say, a Facebook or other social media site. You friend them, they friend you back. You have the ability to just set up a doggy play date. You can say, let's go for a pack walk together, or let's go meet at the dog park at this time. And you can find friends based on their dog's breed, based on their location. So a lot of different ways to find friends through the app. The other feature that I think is really cool is what we lovingly refer to as the stay score. So stay being like the command to stay, and also stay at the park. And the feature takes the average size, temperament, and activity levels of all the dogs that are checked in at the park and provides that back to you in an average score of between 1 and 5. So meaning if you have a small dog and you want to see where most of the small dogs are for the dog parks that are around in your neighborhood, you can very quickly see that just when you're searching the parks on the app. You'll see little bubble graphs that give you that average score between 1 and 5. So the size, it'll say S, and the S will be a 5. And that's going to be very large dogs that are going to be at that park. If the average is a 2, then they're mostly small dogs at that park. So it gives it gives the pet parent it gives the pet parents options and information about what's really happening at the park and the energy level at that park before they even go there.
And it's nice, too, because you're not just obviously meeting fellow pets and such. You're also learning about the parks themselves, because a lot of times, we're going out and about and we're looking for places to go, and you can find somewhere different, out of the ordinary. It's really neat. I think it's such an innovative idea. You can also create a portfolio on the actual website, which is Paw Parks New York City. You can actually create a profile on there, right? So individuals can come and go at will and check everything out and make sure that, just kind of basically check people out. It reminds me of Match.com. Sorry, had to go there.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? You're able to look.
Yeah. You're able to get a better sense of the dogs that are at the parks, or even that are using the application if you want to friend them, and start conversations with them. Yeah, I've had a few friends joke to me that we should add a dating element to it. It's an interesting idea, but I think right now for us, it's really about just doing what we can do well, which is getting people to use the app and check in to be able to give back to the shelters.
Right, definitely, without a doubt. And that was going to be my next question to you, which is just a ballpark, I should say, because I know you don't know for sure. But so on a weekly basis, how are things faring? Do you get to watch the numbers? Do you actually get to see how many people have registered, who's actually at the parks, et cetera, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, we have, and we're keeping a close eye on that. Again, since the site's the application's really only been launched for about 2 months, it's a little slow right now. I mean, we're pushing to get our name out there in the city, and like I said, doing a number of events. But we have a few hundred registrants on the application, and in a weekly basis, it's somewhere between, I would say, 20 and 50 people using the application. So it's growing, and every day it's growing, which is awesome. And I think the more that we can get people using it, clearly the more valuable it's going to be to the dog park community as well as to the shelter community.
Definitely, without a doubt. And not to mention the fact, of course, as you mentioned and we mentioned earlier, it's innovative. It's not like other people are walking around and having the same concept. And the fact of the matter is you're helping your pet, you're helping in terms of the charity side of things, the seating, et cetera, et cetera. Not to mention the fact you're meeting new people. Even on a personal level, I'm gathering that it's just a socialization aspect for other people, literal other dog owners, to be able to get to know one another, plan events, do other things. This might spiral into additional activity, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned that I've raced a few triathlons. One of the guys that I raced with, I met at the dog park. Just happened to go there a whole bunch at the same time. Our dogs actually got into a little bit of a tussle, and we ended up talking, and he ended up doing a few of those triathlon races with me. So it absolutely is. There's that social aspect to it, that you can meet people that have like and common interests to you outside of your pet. But it's just an easy way to make friends.
I understand completely. And of course, obviously, for you yourself, the owner / CEO / big boss, have you been able to partner up and get new relationships for your dogs and for yourselves?
Sure, absolutely. We're using it every single day. We're making sure to use it till its fullest. Have conversations and set up paw dates and pack walks and make new friends both out here in Long Island and in New York City. So
wonderful.
I basically friend every single new registrant on it, or my dogs do, really, because it is about the dogs. But for your own personal information, it's very little that you include in it. It's really just your email address, because the idea is this is a site for the dogs. This is an app for the dogs. This is, this is about them and not so much about us as humans, but we do get that benefit out of it in the sense that there's a social aspect for them, and there will ultimately be a social aspect for us as well.
Oh, certainly, without a doubt, definitely. So the big question here remains this, which you brought up earlier in our conversation. So let's say this takes off in New York City. Would you envision being able to virtually set up and basically run, in California or other places and such? Would you even entertain that idea?
Yeah, I absolutely are. Or am. I've got the next 5 cities lined up in my head already of where we would.
Oh my God!
So
how cool is that?
I've got plans for it. It's just we just need to make it here. And we're making great strides. We've been talking about changing things up a little bit in the sense of allowing the app to also be used for adoption, so that wherever there's an adoption event, you can create a virtual park, and then the rescues and shelters will be able to load up and create profiles for the dogs that are adoptable and check them into that virtual park. And then usually for these adoption events, other people can come with their dogs and they can check in as well. So basically you're getting more bang for your buck. It's a one-shot catalog of the event for people to scroll through and see what dogs are adoptable. But it's also, a great opportunity for you to make a difference and a contribution just by going to that event and checking in. So we would check both the adoptable dogs in and the dogs that have parents ready, and then on both sides there'd be a donation made for both. So we're trying to figure out ways to scale it and make it even better moving forward. So we're excited about the opportunities to work with some of the great shelters in New York City and out here in Long Island. So we're just going to keep pushing on it.
That is awesome. Absolutely wonderful. I'm so impressed with you. I can't even stand it. I know now I'm embarrassing myself, right? See, now this wasn't so god-awful, was it? See, the highly anticipated thing. So here's my really big question. Here's the sad part. Here I am, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be coming to New York City, and now Jonathan will never meet me in person because I don't have a dog and I can't make a paw date. Now I can't see him at a dog park.
You can create a profile for your cat too. It doesn't but if you would like to, there are some human profiles on there as well, and when they ask for the breed of the person, it says beast. So it's quite funny. Some people have taken some liberties with it, and I think it's funny, and I think it adds color to the application. So absolutely, if you'd like to sign your cat up so that you and I can meet and we can schedule a person paw date, I would be more than happy to do that.
Oh, that would be awesome. Except my cat, is in Wisconsin, and I'm coming to New York City, so I might be kind of screwed here. But we'll make something work.
You don't have to bring the cat.
I love it. That's awesome. Now, before I forget, we only have to do 2 quick things here, and I will let you get back to your Saturday as well. Let me just read this rundown real quickly for individuals. You have a Facebook page for Paw Parks New York City, the application. You yourself have a personal Facebook page, which is Jonathan, spelled with a Jon, by the way, folks, and then Lagasse, Lagasse. You have a Twitter handle, which is @Paw Parks NYC. You are on iTunes, Instagram, and then, of course, as I mentioned, the Facebook page, but also www.pawparksnyc. Is there any other place that people can find you on social media?
That's it. You hit them all.
Wow, I actually did my job. Woo!
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Oh, thank you so much. This truly has been a delight, because to tell you the truth, I'm the first one to admit that I'm dog ignorant. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm definitely dog ignorant. And so I always love having her clients on, because I get to learn a little bit about the pet side of things from a dog perspective. I get to learn about new and innovative ideas that are out there. For me, it's such a huge learning experience. I mean, it's just amazing. And you have literally improved my brain knowledge. That's what I call it. You've improved my brain knowledge. You're awesome. You're smart. You are funny. I get to embarrass you easily. Awesome. Imagine when I come to New York City. It'll be such fun. I did send you a friend request, so feel free to accept it if you like. I also want to mention to you, please feel free at any given point in time. As you expand, even if you don't expand, even if you want to keep talking about things, even if you just want to bullshit for an hour, know that you are welcome back on my show at any given point in time.
Thank you so much, Cindy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Not a problem.
And
thanks
for making time for me this morning.
Anytime, my dear, and thank you for being so patient. I appreciate it. Just to let you know, this will be archived in about an hour, so if you want to go ahead and let everybody know that, or if we become friends, I can go ahead and repost the link in about an hour. People can go back and listen to the show all day long if they like, and good luck and much success, and certainly I will look you up when I get to the big city.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
All right, Jonathan, take care. You too, dear.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Was he awesome or what? Jonathan Lagasse, as I mentioned, he, of course, being the actual inventor of Paw Parks New York City. Do not want to forget to mention all the ways to find him, which is iTunes, Instagram, and also Paw Parks New York City is the website. Also, he has a personal page on Facebook, which is Jonathan, which is JONATHAN, and then LAGASSE, along with a Facebook page for Paw Parks New York City. Also want to mention the Twitter handle, which is again, Paw Parks NYC. Big thanks one more time to Jonathan Lagasse for making the time for me and for being patient and understanding. I also want to thank, as always, my one, my only, my darling Dana Humphrey. Thank you so much for bringing me the best people in the world to interview, even on a Saturday. As far as my schedule for next week, we're looking at Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday shows. I will make sure to post those on Monday at the latest because I don't have confirmations for everybody. I just want to say thanks so much to everyone for their concern about last night and everything that happened. I'm doing okay for right now, and I'm handling situations as I can. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week. I hope everybody has a great weekend, gets out to the State Fair. And Dee Thompson, happy early birthday. I will see you tomorrow. Take care, guys. See you next week.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.